Hello, everyone. So in this session, we are going to discuss on one of the most pressing issues in Indian governance. I'm going to talk about nepotism in the judiciary. So if you look at Indian judicial system, which is known as the guardian of democracy and is often perceived as an independent and fair institution. But is it really an independent and fair institution? That's the question which we are going to answer here. If you take an in-depth examination, it will reveal systemic nepotism, opaque appointment process, and favoritism, raising serious questions about transparency, meritocracy, and accountability of the system. So in this video, we will be trying to understand the layers of these issues, and also we will try to analyze its implication on justice and democracy. So let's get started. I'll share the PPT, and with the help of which I'll be explaining. Right. Okay. So I hope you can see the screen. Yeah. Okay. So guys, if you look at it, yes. Okay. So let's start with the two tracks to become a judge. Okay. So the path to becoming a judge in India can be broadly categorized into two tracks and two ways. Okay. So the first way, that the track A involves clearing rigorous written exams and interviews, and that lead to appointments at the lower judiciary level. From there, judges are promoted over decades, and only few reach the High Court or Supreme Court. So this process actually take years and relies on merit. That's one way. Now, if you look at track B, the other way, it bypasses the exams and interviews altogether, and advocates can directly be elevated to High Court, based on Collegium recommendation. I hope you know about Collegium recommendation. We discussed this a lot in our polity classes, and we have done in-depth debate and discussion also about this. So based on Collegium recommendation, the advocates can be directly, after certain years of practice and satisfying the conditions, so they will be elevated to the High Court directly, so without providing any reason for acceptance or rejection also. That is again one of the criticism of this Collegium recommendation that we have discussed before. So this track has raised significant concerns, as it often benefits those with strong familial or family background, or political connections, or political background. If you look at the collegium system, the collegium system actually introduced in the 1990s, which aimed to ensure judicial independence by transferring appointment powers from the executive to senior judges. But this system has become a double-edged sword over a period of time. It protects against political interference, that's there on one side, but it has been criticized by fostering nepotism. For instance, if you see, numerous judges elevated under this system actually come from families already entrenched in the judiciary and sidelining first generation lawyers, and also diverse candidates from certain religions also. Now, if you look at high profile examples of nepotism, you can see several cases which highlight the deep roots of nepotism in the judicial system. Justice DY Chandrachud, the ex chief justice, you can say, recently only have been changed, so and his father, Justice YV Chandrachud. Okay, so India's longest serving CJI exemplify the familial legacy in the judiciary. Similarly, Justice Sanjeev Khanna's elevation bypassed over 32 senior judges, again prompting questions about fairness. So Justice B.V. Nagaratna, poised to become India's first female Chief Justice, is the daughter of a former CJI, further illustrating the dominance of familial ties in the judicial appointment. So these are clearly telling you about the nepotism which is actually prevailing, the familial background. I'm not denying the fact of the merit and everything, but still the familial background is what we are actually highlighting. So if you look at transparency issues, see, there are a lot of lack of transparency in collegium decision, again compounding the problem. I told you there is no need to give the reason for rejection or acceptance. So the criteria for selection are not publicly disclosed, and appointment often appear arbitrary also. So if you look at the studies, it indicate that nearly 50% of High Court judges and 33% of Supreme Court judges come from families with clear judicial backgrounds. And this, insular system excludes marginalized communities, specific community, certain religion and perpetuates elitism, undermining the judiciary's credibility. If you look at social and gender diversity gap. See, nepotism has also hindered diversity in judiciary. Data from Union Law Ministry, if you take 2018 to 2022, it reveals that majority of the judges belong to privileged backgrounds with minimal representation from OBC, SC, ST, and other minority communities. And gender diversity is equally dismal. Only 13% of High Court judges and 4 Supreme Court judges are women. So this lack of inclusion, I'm talking from different perspective. It should be from different sections, and I'm also talking about female case here. So the lack of inclusion weakens public trust and reflects systemic bias in the judiciary. Now, what about the influence of political ideology? See, the judiciary has not been completely immune to political influence. Historically, ruling parties have sought to, embed their ideologies through judicial appointments. For instance, during the Vajpayee regime, several judges with RSS affiliations were appointed. Similarly, controversies like the elevation of judges with questionable credentials reveal the interplay of politics and nepotism, further eroding the trust in the system. So, let's see how to balance independence and accountability. See, the collegium system protect judicial independence from political interference on one side, but its opaque nature and susceptibility to favoritism, it demand reforms. Okay, so critics also argue for a transparent and merit-based process to balance autonomy with accountability. So transparency need to be there. At the same time, if you see proposal to shift appointment powers to executive, again raise concerns about political interference as seen during Indira Gandhi tenure and also BJP's efforts with the NJAC Act. Okay, now what is the conclusion? See, guys, the Indian judiciary, again, if you see, it stands at crossroads. Questions about its integrity, accountability, transparency, and all is there. So the reforming appointment process, to prioritize transparency is required. It should focus on merit and also need to consider diversity as very crucial elements to restore the public faith or public trust. So if you see, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar rightly said, the constitution is only as good as those implementing it. So I hope everything is very clear from that one line itself. So whether through internal reforms or broader systemic changes, the judiciary must ensure that it remain a pillar of justice and democracy. So the path forward is, of course, challenging, but safeguarding the judiciary's integrity is essential for India's democratic future. So that's about this session. You can post your thoughts in the comment section. So see you guys in the next video.